Hey everyone, it's Triple Mango Threat, and today we're talking about some Modern Horizon 2 reprints that are just going to be great for EDH. Let's jump right into it. So first we're talking about Quirion Ranger for 1 green. It's a 1/1 elf ranger. We can return a forest we control to our hand, and then we're able to untap a creature. We can only do this once each turn. Now why this is a really sweet reprint is because normally this card is around $5, and now it's going for $2 right now, and hopefully the price will drop even further. Once Modern Horizons 2 drops, usually prices normalize. But we can find this card in decks that love to be untapped, so we have Yasan the Wanderer Bard, Selvala, Prime Speaker Vannifar, anything that just really wants to be untapped so we can then again abuse their sweet ability. You also find this in one of my favorite commanders, Selvala Explorer Returned. It's a really fun deck because everybody gets to draw off of your commander, so normally they're going to leave you alone, but Quirion Ranger is a great reprint. Next we're talking about Millikin for 2 colorless. It's a 0/1 construct where we can tap it and we can mill a card and then we get a colorless mana. This works really well in decks that want you to fill your graveyard and you just get the benefit of getting an extra mana. So it's a mana dork and you also have more options in your graveyard, so you find this in decks like Arami of the Dead Tide. Arami really cares about creatures in our graveyard, and we have that possibility with milling ourselves. You can also find this in decks like Sir Conrad the Grim and Teshar Ancestress Apostle. So if you really care about putting cards into your graveyard and just benefiting from getting mana, this is a great option. Shardless Agent for 1 green blue. It's a 2/2 human rogue with Cascade. Now I love Cascade, and looking at the prices right now, this is normally around an $8 to $9 card. As of right now, it's around $5, so again, about $3 less than normal, and hopefully by the time this set releases, it's going to be even lower. You're going to find this in a lot of decks that love Cascade. So for example, Averna the Chaos Bloom, Maelstrom Wanderer, Yidris Maelstrom Wielder, and one of my favorite commanders, MOT Celebrant of Bounty. This is a great budget commander. Shardless Agent is not exactly a budget card, but if you love Cascade, this is a great reprint for you. The next reprint we're talking about is Karmic Guide for 3 white. It's a 2/2 angel spirit with flying and protection from black. It has Echo for 3 and 2 white, and when it enters the battlefield, return target creature from your graveyard to the battlefield. I did not realize this was a $10 card, and the last time I checked this price, it was probably a $2 card, and now looking at the price history, that would have been in 2018. Well, it's 2021, so 3 years later, this is a $10 card, which happened to see some spikes pretty recently. Sadly, the Modern Horizons 2 copy is still $10, and surprisingly enough, the other copies of it from other sets are actually around $9, so I don't know why this particular copy happens to be $1 more. But you're going to find this in decks that can really abuse bringing your creatures back from the grave to your battlefield, which really works in any deck because for 5 mana you can just bring back whatever creature you want. It is often used as an infinite combo piece as well with Revelart. I'm just really surprised to see it at this price. Let me know what you guys think about this card in the comments down below. Next, we're talking about Titania, Protector of Argoth for 3 green. It's a 5/5 elemental. When Titania enters the battlefield, we can return a land from our graveyard back to the battlefield, and whenever a land we control is put into our graveyard from the battlefield, we can make a 5/3 green elemental creature token. So it's very important for us to find ways to sacrifice our lands, and sadly there's not a lot of ways to do that. But I'm going to mention another reprint that works really well with Titania up next. But first, let's talk about Sylvan Safekeeper for 1 green. This is a 1/1 human wizard where we can sacrifice a land and target creature we control gains Shroud until end of turn. Well, Shroud doesn't really matter because we're able to actually sacrifice our lands, so now we're able to make those 5/3 elementals just on demand. A popular card is Constant Mist. The buyback is sacrificing a land, and it's a fog where creatures deal no damage. It's also an instant, so our opponents hopefully won't know that we have this, but of course we can repeat this over and over to get a huge amount of elementals with this. And since we're making a lot of 5/3 elementals, there's a lot of ways to draw cards off of those creatures. We have Elemental Bond. When a creature with power 3 or greater enters our battlefield, we get to draw a card, so every time we sacrifice a land, we're drawing a card as well. And the same for Garruk's Uprising. This is power 4 or greater, which still accomplishes the same thing. We're drawing a card off of those elementals entering our battlefield. So this is a really cool commander. And next, let's talk about that card that works so well with Titania. Zurin Orb for 0 mana. It's an artifact where we can sacrifice a land and we gain 2 life. The part where we gain 2 life doesn't matter at all. Again, it's very important that we have a sack outlet for lands because there's not a lot of ways to do so. You're going to find this in decks that love to be able to sacrifice their lands because they have ways to bring it back, or they just have a lot of ways to abuse this. So besides Titania, we have the Gitrog monster, or Lord Windgrace. With Lord Windgrace's ability, the -3 allows us to bring 2 lands from our grave back to the battlefield, so sacrificing them isn't any trouble at all. And the Gitrog monster loves to have lands going to our graveyard, and this could be from anywhere, from our battlefield, or if we happen to mill our lands, because we get to draw cards whenever a land is put into our graveyard graveyard from anywhere. Next, we're talking about Goblin Bombardment for 1 and a red. It's an enchantment where we can sacrifice a creature and then Goblin Bombardment deals 1 damage to any target. Now, normally this is a $7 or $8 card, and because of this reprint, we're looking at around $5 card, which is, again, really helpful as always, because this card loves to be in decks that have a lot of creatures we just sacrifice and it doesn't hurt us. For example, Krenko Mob Boss. Krenko makes a huge amount of goblins, so sacrificing them to deal damage is a great way, especially after we attacked with these goblins. Now we're just dealing extra damage. It's a sweet sack outlet, and especially in decks that love to gain control of our opponent's creatures. First to my mind is Yasova Dragonclaw. We can pay 1 Is It to gain control of an opponent's creature with power less than or equal to Yasova's power. And so once we gain control of their creatures, they gain haste, and then once we swing with them, we can always sacrifice them, so now they're in our opponent's graveyard and they're hopefully not able to use it. This is also found in Prosh decks. Again, we're making a huge amount of tokens, so why not deal that extra damage? Enchantress's Presence for 2 and a green. It's an enchantment. Whenever you cast an enchantment spell, draw a card. This is looking to be around the $6 to $7 range, and luckily now it's around $4 due to this reprint. This is a great way to draw cards, especially if you're an enchantment deck. You really want to put this in there. For 3 mana, being able to draw a card when we cast Wild Growth, or any kind of ramp spell for a small amount of mana, we're just drawing cards off of that. So it's as if we're paying 1 mana to draw a card, and we get an enchantment out of it that can later ramp us. Yeah, this is just a great way to draw cards. Especially with the new Commander Sithis, whenever we cast an enchantment, we're going to gain 1 life and draw a card. So really this set just promotes enchantments out of the water, because normally we have commanders like Tuvasa, which again is a great commander because we draw a card from our first enchantment each turn. So this can be on our turn, our opponent's, and that's 3 colors, so the mana base can be a little tough to have. But when it's coming down to green and white, this is just the perfect color combination. Because not only are we drawing off of our commander and Enchantress's Presence, we're drawing cards off of Argothian Enchantress. We're drawing cards off of Eidolon Blossoms. There's just a lot of ways to draw cards with green and white, so they did a great job making this commander. If you're playing enchantments, you really want to play Solitary Confinement. For 2 and a white, it's an enchantment. At the beginning of your upkeep, sacrifice Solitary Confinement unless you discard a card. Skip your draw step, you have Shroud, prevent all damage that would be dealt to you. Now you're probably looking at me like, I don't think this is a really good card. Well, hear me out. We're preventing all damage that would be dealt to us, and we have Shroud, so we can't be targeted. Yes, we do skip our draw step, and we have to discard a card, but when we're in enchantments, we draw a lot of cards. Like I mentioned previously, we're literally drawing possibly 2 to 3 cards every time we play an enchantment, so discarding a card doesn't matter, and being able to prevent damage dealt to us and having Shroud is super powerful, so we can really win the game off of a card like this. Next, we're talking about Greed for 3 and a black. It's an enchantment where we can pay a black, 2 life, and then we're able to draw a card. This can go really into any black deck because drawing cards is very important, but if you care about losing life, I really recommend Selenia Dark Angel. This is all about losing life, or even in Villas Broker of Blood, when we lose life, we draw that many cards. So whenever we pay that black mana, the 2 life, we're actually drawing 3 cards off of Greed, which is really silly. Or even Crick, Son of Yawgmoth. Crick is able to make it where instead of paying a black mana, we can actually pay 2 life, so we pay 4 life, we're able to draw a card, which may seem really bad, but not having to pay mana is a very powerful thing to do, and Crick is a very powerful commander. One of the reprints I was really excited about is Miraris Wake for 3 green and white. It's an enchantment where creatures we control get +1/+1, but more importantly, whenever you tap a land, add 1 mana of any type that land produced. Normally this is a $20 card, and right now it's 15 as of today, which is June 5th. So hopefully when Modern Horizons actually releases, maybe we can see this as a $10 card. That would be really sweet, and I love this card. Normally we have green cards that double everyone's mana, but this is specifically us, and adding white to it doesn't really matter because we can find this in decks like Zakama Primal Calamity. Whenever Zakama enters the battlefield, we untap all of our lands. Well, whenever they tap for 2 mana, this gets really silly. Or this can even go in the Sithis Harvester's Hand deck. It is an enchantment, and now we're doubling our mana. Creatures we control get +1/+1, which doesn't really matter in this deck, but still, now our commander's a 2/3, which may be able to prevent it from some removal. Anyways, Miraris Wake is a sweet reprint, and I'm really happy they did it. Mog's Salvage for 2 and a red. It's an instant. If an opponent controls an island and you control a mountain, you may cast this without paying its mana cost, and we're able to destroy target artifact. Yeah, this is a sweet card. This has had 1 reprint before in Nemesis, which is back in 2000, and that's 21 years ago, by the way. And now we're having this reprint for only 79 cents. This is an amazing card. I really love this one, because normally if we're wanting to destroy an artifact, we have to pay 1 and a red. So yes, if we don't have an opponent that controls an island, which is very unlikely in a 4-player game, we have to pay 3 mana to do so. This is just a sweet card, and I really recommend it. Next, we're talking about Vindicate. For 1 white black, it's a sorcery. Destroy target permanent. Now, for some reason, Scryfall does not have a price for me on this one, but normally this is like an $8 or $9 card. So yeah, it's not a budget option right now, but I'm really glad they're reprinting it, and hopefully it'll be a cheaper price, because being able to destroy any permanent in white or black is serious business. Now, it is a sorcery, so I understand you're probably like, well, I don't get that instant speed interaction, but still, this is a really sweet card because we can take care of any permanent on our opponent's side, or even one of ours if we really have to. I was really surprised to see this one, Cabal Coffers. Now, this was printed back in Torment and then also Plane Chase later in 2009, so we have not seen a reprint in 12 years. This is an amazing land, especially in a mono black deck, because we pay 2 mana and we get a black mana for each swamp we control. And if we have maybe a 2-color deck, we can see Urberg, Tomb of Yawgmoth with this, so we're still getting a huge amount of black mana from this land. Before this was reprinted, this was like a $120 card. Now the card from Torment is down to $93, and as of right now, the Modern Horizons 2 copy is around $63. This is a lot more affordable than $120, but still $60 for 1 card. We can probably make 2 budget decks off of that price. And there's also a budget version of Cabal Coffers. We have Cabal Stronghold. Again, this is a $6 or $7 card, so it's not very budget just looking at this alone, but comparing it to Cabal Coffers, this is a great option because it really relies on basic swamps, and we have to pay 3 mana, but we can also tap it for a colorless, which Cabal Coffers cannot do. So again, if you play mono black, Cabal Coffers is a great card for you. And the last card we're talking about is Riptide Laboratory. It's a land where we can tap it for a colorless, or we can pay 1 and a blue to tap it. Return target wizard you control to its owner's hand. So if you're playing a wizard tribal or your commander happens to be a wizard, this is a great land for you to have. And the fact that it has a blue mana symbol in it is fine, because when we're playing wizards, it's very likely that it's going to have the color blue in it. So this is really on theme, and you'll find this in decks like Braids. Being able to return our commander back to our hand is very powerful, especially not letting our opponents abuse her sweet upkeep ability. Thank you so much for watching. If you'd like any of these cards, you can use the TCG link down below. It's going to help out the channel at no additional cost to you. There's also a join button on the channel now. You can become a member for 99 cents each month, and you'll get some cool badges the longer you're a member. You can even use the custom TMT emoji in the comments. If you'd like to have some sweet altars, you can use the code TripleMangoThreat to have 5% off your orders at Altar Sleeves. If you'd like to become a patron, you can start seeing your names at the end of these videos, and you also get a free exclusive altar sleeve each month when you become a $10 patron. Be sure to comment down below what you thought of the video and subscribe for more Mango content. I'll see you on the next one. Peace.